So hello everyone. I hope you guys are having a good day, and also that you guys signed in. My name is Pablo, and I am the workshops director committee. Okay, so let me get started. Uh, Ideally, I would like you guys to sign up with your email account so you can take advantage of the student pack that GitHub offers. Can you send them the link for the?
Oh, for the student. Wow, I
Yeah.
blanked on that. My bad. So, yeah, here's the link for you to sign up with the education pack. It does ask you to send either a picture of your student
The
ID
transcripts.
or transcripts or something like that so that they can verify that you're a student. It usually takes 1 to 2 business days for them to verify your account. When you get the developer, like the student developer pack, you'll become a GitHub Pro member for free, and you'll have access to like all this other cool stuff. Do you want to show them what they get access to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let me just open up the link. So pretty much the GitHub Pro package allows you to have like a lot more repositories than the usual, as well as having some email features and other features that usually you wouldn't get with your normal account. Obviously, it's free since you're a student, so I really highly advise that you take advantage of this.
Yeah. Go ahead. Scroll down. Scroll.
Oh,
So like you'll get Canva for free. You can get AWS Educate.
Firefox.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of stuff. And they'll update it occasionally. Yes, you can. So you can add more
You
emails.
can add your email.
Canva. Yeah, so you can add more
like
emails.
Bootstrap too.
You can add more than
You can add more than one email.
yeah, more than one
It's
email.
under settings.
You get Bootstrap too, which is great for making websites. You can even put them online for free, which is great.
I wish I would have known about this when I first got GitHub. Like, I found out about this like a year ago.
Okay, so let me continue, and we should get actually started onto what exactly is GitHub. But first, let me introduce myself again. So my name is Pablo. Today's workshop will be about about GitHub and how it is used. This is mostly an introduction containing the basics. So if you're new or intermediate, this will be mostly a brief rundown of why it is important to use GitHub and Git on a daily basis. This is my first attempt at a workshop, so and also the first ACM workshop. So please bear with me. I'm gonna try my best, but let me start by asking you guys if you have ever heard of GitHub or have seen a friend use GitHub before. Let's see. Do we have anybody? Have you guys heard of it? Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm a huge fan. Use it daily. There you go. That's what we want because essentially this is such a powerful tool. I mean, it's a great tool. Okay, so now that we know that some people that you guys have heard of it, um, let me first emphasize that if you're new, I hope that this is going to be an insight of this tool that is very helpful in your career. Um, for those who are more intermediate, this is mostly going to be just a recap. For those who are experts, please help those I previously mentioned, as well as correct me if I do anything wrong. So let me start with the abstract purpose of GitHub. How many of you have ever exchanged code through email, whether it was for a homework assignment or a group project, and then reattaching everything back together into a project? I know I am guilty for a fact. Like Dropbox, Google Drive. Yeah. So there's a lot of people. Um, okay, so we do have some people. Like I said, I'm guilty of it myself, and but obviously starting out, you don't really know any better.
Wait, can I see
Send
something real
notepad
quick?
files, really?
Yeah, I
We
was
do
about to.
that?
Come on, you're a director. What?
Oh God, no.
You are a
Okay,
director,
no.
Camilla. What?
Chloe, you disgust me.
Camilla.
Look,
on.
look, everybody gotta start somewhere, and my
Right.
start was Notepad. Not even Notepad++, just Notepad.
Just regular Notepad. There you go. Okay, now obviously, although these are feasible alternatives like the email, the Google Drive, and the Dropbox, there is a standardized way to do these things, and this is essentially what GitHub accomplishes. So oh wait, this is not it. And let me remove this out of the way. So what is GitHub essentially? So GitHub is a platform that allows developers to host a distributed version control system. Distributed is defined as decentralized, meaning that you can access it as long as you have an internet connection. Um, what is this? Sharing posts. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
stop. Sorry. So,
You're
my
good.
bad. Sorry for cutting you off. So, for those of you who want to learn how to download Git, we're going to do that at the end so that those who aren't necessarily interested don't have to like sit and wait through that so that we can also help you troubleshoot. You don't need to have Git downloaded for this. Oh, wait. No, yeah, you don't. You don't need to. You shouldn't need to, at least. I don't believe so. But I'll post the link in the chat so that you can get started on it if you want to, and have that running in the background.
Yeah, you can also just type like git-scm.com and you can get the Git download. Okay, so essentially the benefit of having a GitHub is that many developers can work in a single project without the need of being in the same network. So as long as you have access to GitHub, you can make changes to the remote repository from your local station. In other words, you don't have to be in a headquarters to transfer files within a network of computers. You can also do so just fine through the web. For those who don't know what a repository is, it is essentially a place where you can store your files or your work on a centralized data storage. The beauty of GitHub, and this is essentially why we have so many people in GitHub. And the beauty of GitHub is that it has a lot of features that are very useful, like going to previous versions of the repository as long as those changes were committed. It tracks who the author of those changes are through a snapshot history feature that it has, which tells you what the changes were, as well as highlighting those changes. It also tells you where were they made and where were they made through a time post snap feature as well. You can make multiple branches to work on different features to either make hot fixes, debugs, and safely develop new features without disrupting the main branch. It also allows you to make a description of your work when you're going to commit a new update to your branch, or if it's going to be merged with a different branch as well as to the master branch. You can another very useful feature is that you can make a comment on your code or someone else's work before pushing the changes to any other branch, or doing a pull request where you and your team will discuss these changes that are made. Um, for example, if there's anything that needs to be altered before releasing the latest update and implementing into the main program, or in this case, the main branch, you can start a conversation through the comment section. When it comes to individual work on a branch, the description feature is very important. It allows you to inform your team of what is being done in the new version of the branch. Through the description box, you can always make a more elaborate explanation of what essentially your work is. And I will show this a little bit later, but for now, I'm just going to essentially explain the concept of it. But yeah, through the description box, you can make an explanation of what is being omitted on your program or what is being added. So pretty much your branch can make you can make whatever branch you want to do and add a description to it. I know that I am putting a little bit too much emphasis on the communication aspect, but this is pretty much the important factor of GitHub. But and essentially, communication is pretty much key when it comes to any project, especially those projects that are very large.
Do you want to show them the commit history
Sure.
to show them an example?
Yeah. Let me just get that if I can find the tab again because I keep losing it. But I will find this. The struggle of having so many tabs open. Okay. Wait, Chloe, did you erase it, the repository? I don't see it.
I did not erase that repository. Our website would be down if I did that. Here.
Gotcha. Oh no, I found it. I found it. There you go.
I got scared.
Thank God. My fault. Okay, so this is essentially what I am talking about. This is a snap feature with with its own unique ID, where you can actually just click on it and see the changes and see how things were added, as well as let me see if there's any mergers in here. So here is an example of a merge. So I don't know if this was this pull request. Yeah, this was a pull request where you added two different branches to make a one in unique branch, and this will be either in one feature branch or in the master branch. And as you can see, things have been omitted and added. So I guess that's one of the best examples of the the commit feature. So let me continue on. Where was I? Oh, gotcha. Okay, so let me explain some of the like the reasons why GitHub is so popular. So as you can see, pretty much GitHub has a lot of users, 40 million in total as of January 2020, and it's pretty much used by every single industry. Well, not every single, but pretty much most the major industries that are focused on software development, and that includes Google, Microsoft, Netcore, and of course Visual Studio Code. Some of the benefits of GitHub is essentially how it is always considered a plus for when you are getting recruited. Essentially, recruiters will see will see these skills as essentials and things that you will have to learn throughout your college career. This is not going to be taught to you through a course. So pretty much this is the reason why we're making this workshop, to get you to know these tools. Another reason why another reason is pretty much the command line versus the general user interface. So how should I tell you this? Essentially, the I forgot how to say it. My fault. Give me just a second. Um, uh, so the benefit of the command line interface being greater than the general GUI counterpart is, of course, very subjective, but essentially the command line interface allows you to kind of like navigate a lot easier through files and through the computer file interface. The GUI, although it has its own benefits, is still very cumbersome when it comes to doing large projects like this, where you have to move around so many files. um, for the program development point that I put there, essentially in the other hand, the main reason why GitHub is so popular is the unique ability to exchange and contribute ideas, which enables users to interact more than one way compared to any other platform. Which leads me to the next point of an individual repository. GitHub can be used to save future projects reflective of your skills. These projects can be linked in your resume, allowing recruiters to have an easy access of your credentials. And finally, this is pretty much a future-proof tool. Although it is not perfect by design, GitHub is the most popular way that industries have adopted to develop their software, and that's really pretty much the reason why it has become so standardized. This is just a little of a snapshot for how to make a repository, but we will get to this later. So branching. Branching is the gateway and the GitHub is the way Git and GitHub manages the timeline of a project, especially when more than one person is working in the project and making changes. A branch is essentially a unique set of code changes with a unique name. Each repository can have more than one branch and also alternate the default branch. The default branch is considered the base branch in your repository, and all pull requests and code commits are automatically made here, unless you specify a different branch. Your default branch is usually named the master branch, where all changes are eventually merged back into. This is officially the working version of your project, and it's the one that it will be reflected in your remote repository on GitHub. So as you can see, this is the master branch. These are essentially feature branch, but those branches can also have other branches developing other features where you can develop software and then go back to be merged into the feature branch and polish out those bugs as well. And also, once that is done, you can make a pull request to send it back into the master branch. So features A and B are two different features, not two attempts at the same time. There you go.
So
You're getting
if
it.
you look at it this way, the second you make a branch off of like another branch, so let's say you make a branch off of master and you start doing stuff on feature branch B. If changes keep on getting pushed to master while there's stuff being worked on feature branch B, the changes that are happening in master are not being reflected in feature branch B. It's like what was said earlier, where it's like you're creating an alternative timeline, an alternative. You're making another
Like an
timeline pretty
alternate
much.
branch that you can alter however you like, and then
Yeah.
once things are done, you can merge it back into the master branch. Does
But
that
just because
does
you
that
made a
give a better
branch, yeah.
explanation?
So yeah, but just because you pulled or just because you made a branch off of master, that does not mean that you have the most recent version of the repository of like what's going on master while you're continuing. That's just something to keep
Are
in
you
mind.
guys? Is anybody confused? Do you guys have any questions? I hope I'm not confusing anybody, because this is essentially to help you, not to make you more confused. Mm,
Should I make a poll
don't
that's like,
be.
are you confused? Yes or no?
Yeah. Don't be shy either.
It's like,
So it's kind of about
yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Well, next slide, I
So I
guess.
guess all
What
right.
if you're working on the same? Oh, now you got questions. Hold on. What if you're working on the same files in
Branch
your branch
very
as someone else's? So that's the tricky part. GitHub has a
Atandra,
hard
I
time.
will get to
Yeah.
that later. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
You want to do that? Oh, wait, for which
No,
part?
you go. No, this will be mentioned later. What is a pull request?
Oh, the pull request. Okay. So if you're working on the same files in your own branch and someone else is like changing it, you get a merge conflict. Exactly. GitHub doesn't exactly like when that happens and it gets kind of complicated. I had to deal with that just like yesterday and I was stuck and it was not pretty. You essentially have to like go back and in your commit history and try to find where like there's overlap and you could try and erase your changes. It gets really complicated. That's why you're better off making different branches and making little commits at a time, and trying not to work on the same like files while someone else is. We'll go over that later, Camilla. Yeah.
All right. So let me proceed into um, what essentially Git is. So there's two components of GitHub. There is GitHub, and then there's Git. Git is a tool that you can use to interact with GitHub. GitHub, in the other hand, is essentially like a host of files that are transferred through Git, and that's the reason why it's called a decentralized uh, control version. You can access it wherever you want, as long as you have access to internet, obviously. So Git, in the other hand, is a free tool, obviously, that utilizes a version control system for tracking changes in your in computer files. I also forgot to mention that there is no established code language for GitHub, which means that you can use pretty much anything on it, like Python, JavaScript, and C++, and so on. Uh, one thing that is very convenient to learn about Git is the Git bash command line, or essentially like the version of Git's terminal, which enables you a lot more than the GUI version. So this is where it goes back to what we talked about earlier. The command line interface allows you to be more accessible with local files than the GUI counterpart, and that way it allows you to be more accessible through the Git. In the way it allows you to be more accessible is through the Git commands. We'll, yes, we will do this, Marian. Of course, I'm not trying to discourage any GUI users since I'm still one myself. So yeah, don't feel discouraged. But it is still beneficial to learn how to use the command line interface in the long run, since you're going to use it later on in your future careers. So it's still way more beneficial to use the command line interface. What's a GUI? The general user interface, or I guess
Graphics user
UI.
interface.
There you go. Okay, so let me start with some of the commands. Oops. So we have GUI.
So those commands that
Thank
are
you for the
there, they work
clarification.
on Unix, Windows, Linux, Mac. They work everywhere.
Okay, so some of the commands. These are some of the most basic commands. This tool is a lot more powerful than it seems but it gets way more complex later on, and we can go through that in another workshop. But right now we're gonna stick to the basics. So some of the commands are the git init, which lets you initialize the repository or basically create a repository. We also have the git status. It's a very useful command that will verify the content that is being tracked and untracked in the branch that you're in. This command will be often be paired with the next command, which is the git add. So basically, when you use git add with the name of the file next to it, it will track the file. It will switch the file from being untracked into tracked, and we can check that with the git status. And as you can, and you will later see that with that the file that was previously untracked is now being tracked through git, and it will appear in like a green highlight. Git commit basically saves the progress into the branch repository to make sure that all the track files have been saved. We can use this. You can use the git log command to list all the commits that have been made, and then what we can do is use the git push to finally send our updated branch to our remote repository back at GitHub. Do you guys have any questions regarding the commands?
We'll show you an example after.
Oh yeah,
After we go over all the
we're
stuff.
going through the whole process, so I'll demonstrate it for you guys to have like a visual example. I know that saying it doesn't really make as much sense, but this is pretty much what the concept is.
We also put a bunch of resources towards the end so that you guys can like check it out on your own, so you can see where we got our stuff and where there's like tutorials that are interactive, so you can play with it on your own.
So do we have any questions? I think I'm just gonna, if any, I'll answer it in the next slide, just in case. But let me move on for now. So the main, so essentially, this is pretty much how it is structured, like the basic of it, how it is supposed to be used. I will give you a scenario so that way you can have an idea of how this is implied. So essentially, let me give you a scenario of how you and your friend will be working on a project, and essentially you will be starting to work on a project at 9 a.m. and you started making changes, and then your friend will start making changes at 9:05 a.m. and then you will stop making changes at 10 p.m. I mean 10 a.m. and then he will stop making changes at 9:15 a.m. In this scenario, who do you think has the who are whose changes are going to be in the document at 9:15 a.m. I apply GitHub to the student pack, and it said that
They'll get it back to you before then. It might be like a glitch or something, but normally it takes a few days. When they're not busy, it usually takes like a few hours. But I've heard a lot of people say that it takes like 1 to 2 business days. They should not be getting back to you that late. I don't think they will.
So essentially, this is pretty much a toss-up. If you when it comes to this scenario, if you use a service like Dropbox or Google Drive, OneDrive, etc., whatever alternative, uh, Git in the other hand, like kind of makes like attempts like it attempts to kind of resolve this problem in a very clever way. But more importantly, it tries to merge and include everyone's changes. So that's the reason why Git is a little bit more popular compared to the other alternatives. So the way that this will work is that you will make remote repository first, and then you will clone the repository whether it is empty or not, and that will reflect on a file within your local station. Once the local station has make its new changes with additional files or different conversions of the code, you will hit the git status to verify that things are being tracked or untracked, and you will push the new files to being tracked with the git add command. Is git control good in VS Code, or should I use GitHub website or terminal instead? We will show you the Git terminal once we're done with this, as well as the lazy Git, which will be, I guess, another good alternative if you want to get into the Git and GitHub tool. Yeah, don't worry about it. So once we have made the status and then when we check that everything is being tracked, we can then commit those files to save the repository or to save those changes, and finally push them into our remote repository. And that's once we log in back into GitHub, we can see that the changes have been made because everything that we had in our local repository has now been transferred to our remote repository. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions? I missed what term in the workstation repositories get committed. Oh, so essentially, if you have new files, um, GitHub has like a feature where it tells you how, or basically a command that allows you to see what files have been tracked and untracked, and if they're being tracked, those are the files that are going to be able to be committed, and that way it saves. Those that are not untracked, they will not be saved in the commitment in the committed uh, section, so they will not be pushed later on. Does that make more sense? I mean, so what determines if something is tracked? Remember this is done with the add command that we mentioned earlier. Essentially, you will use exactly, Annabelle.
If
That
you didn't add it, then it will show up as untracked, and if you did add it, then it'll show up as tracked. That pretty much determines what will be committed the next time you say git commit.
Any other questions? All right, I think yep, pretty much. That's pretty much that's a good way of seeing it. So now let me move into the pull request that somebody asked earlier. So pull request is it tells others about the changes being that have been pushed to a branch in a repository on GitHub. Once a pull request is open, you can discuss and review the potential changes with collaborators and follow up commits before your changes are merged into the base branch. Does that make sense, or do you guys need like it's essentially kind of like if you want to commit to you want to push a change into the master branch, but you first want approval of everybody working in the project, you will do a pull request where you will discuss with the comments or with whether you have to do any further edits of the project, and then once everybody comes into an agreement, you can push the changes into the master branch. Does that make more sense? Mm, okay. So let me move into the GitHub issues, and then after that we can go to the demonstration. So so thank you for guys for like holding, having some patience. So the GitHub issues are essentially a bug tracking system built into the GitHub service. They provide a way for people to submit problems and get feedback and collaborate together on code projects. So this is kind of like allowing you to debug a lot more easier, but at the same time interacting with other collaborators to make sure that everything has been polished, I guess you can say correctly. And that's pretty much it. We're pretty much with the concept. So we will move into the demonstration.
Am I
Do
doing it or
I,
are you
oh,
doing it? Oh yeah, these are
I
the
can do it
resources.
first.
Okay. So on here, so the first one that's listed there is the GitHub course that they made to put you through GitHub. So it just teaches you how to do a bunch of stuff. Highly recommend that you go through that because they just like they won't move on into the next step until yeah. So I see that. So I'll get to that one, Freddie. They won't move on to the next step until you figure out how to do the first one, and they'll give you a bunch of tips. It's great. Like I loved it. Then the next one is the Missing Semester by MIT. That's a 2020 version, and this is the one for Git and version control as a whole. That's a great resource. They have also a bunch of resources on their website, like on that link, that I definitely think you should check out. If you don't want to go through the course that GitHub made, they also have an introductory page where they just teach you a bunch of stuff, which is definitely great. And then we have Oh Shit Git. That is when you mess up on Git or when you use GitHub and you don't know what happened or how to go back or something like that. They have like most of the like worst case scenarios that could happen, and then they teach you how to like undo them or how to go back and stuff like that. And then since we did have like quite a few questions about yeah, never do force push. I had to do that unfortunately a few days ago, but never do it. It's not that good. If like there's if you're working on someone else's repository or you're working on an organization repository, most of the time that feature will be enabled, like it'll be disabled, so you won't be able to do it. If you are working on your own repository, I recommend that you disable it just in case, but you shouldn't ever have to force push. You're overwriting pretty much. It just it lets you rewrite history, which is what we had to do. Wait, I wasn't done. Okay, wait. So then learning Git branching, that one is an interactive thing that teaches you how branching works. I think we're gonna do a demo of that, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh, which one?
yeah,
Get
the last one. Are we doing that or no?
the learning branching?
Yeah,
We can with the link.
yeah.
And I guess I'll move into the lazy git as well. Can you explain this?
Yeah. So I recommend Lazy Git because it's a very easy way for you to do Git commands in your terminal without so you should know the Git commands. Like that's always a good thing. But this is also a good way if you have a lot of files or you don't always remember what the commands are. Lazy Git lets you still use Git without necessarily knowing the commands. Should I show them now or do I wait until after?
Let's wait for now. We will show that
Okay.
after the git bash, just because it's a little bit harder, and I want them to retain like the easier alternative in the end a lot better.
That's, yeah. You should
So
definitely know the
first
Git
we will,
commands.
yeah. So first we will start by, well, I have it downloaded right now, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to uninstall it. So let me just say goodbye to this. Good, remove, oh boy. Something is up. I did not expect this. Oh, it's because it's open, never mind. Where did I leave it?
It's probably your terminal that's open, or you probably have the folder open somewhere.
Huh. Well,
So
let
wait,
me
are you
head
showing them how to
to.
download it?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to right now. So we will type in git-sem.com, and this is essentially where you will download Git. If you have a different platform, you have your alternatives here as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and use Windows because that's pretty much what I have.
If you have a Mac, download Homebrew before you do anything. Homebrew is great. You'll be using it quite a bit as a especially if you're in CS or CPE, you'll be using it. You're going to want to download that before downloading Git, which is also what they recommend on their website. So I'm just going to put the link to Homebrew here first.
I'm gonna wait until you guys have the same screen, but pretty
On a
much for now,
non-admin account?
we will use the default options just because this is mostly just how you say it, a demonstration. You can change them later on if you want to. So for now, we will stick to the default options. How do Homebrew?
So let me see if there's another way, because that's how they recommend that you do it. Xcode building for
It should, Kate. This is pretty much like another terminal. It's very similar
well,
to command
Homebrew.
prompt. Oh, Homebrew or no, or Git Bash?
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh no, yeah, it's for Homebrew. That's what she was asking about. A non-admin account. Oh, do you have Xcode on your laptop? It should. If you have Xcode, then you might have Git on it, because that's what it says on the website. So in your command line, you can do git tech version to see if you have it already. You do? You have it? Okay.
Privately. Oh.
Yeah, you have to send it to everyone. So where it says
I'll wait probably like 1 or 2 more minutes and we will just continue. If anything, I can always help out afterwards. We will be here. Also, if you guys want to interact with the workshops committee, let me know as well. I am looking for members. And hopefully you guys can enjoy some of these workshops that are coming up in the future.
is anyone a Mac user? Because you won't have that screen.
Right. So that's like my downfall right now.
Okay. So
I don't know.
for those of you, did
Wow,
you
there's a
all,
lot of Mac users.
it says it's installed? Okay. So Alyssa, do you have Git already installed? It says it's installed. Okay. Freddie's on the same screen. Here, I'll just run a poll.
How do I check if I have it again?
So you're going to do this command.
Just on the terminal, right?
Yeah, in the terminal.
You should say like the version and the year and so on.
No Xcode, but you still have it. Most of the times it's already installed if you're on a Mac, from what I've noticed. Do you have it, Alyssa? Tech, not just
Whoops.
What
I guess it
button
didn't
is
work on this
that?
one.
It's supposed to be so dash.
Okay.
Do the people with the Windows platform have this screen, you can continue as well. If you already have this screen, you can continue with the default options, which is what I'm gonna do. So next, yes, I already had that installed. I don't know if I should put. I'm just gonna leave it as default, and now we can continue with next. Next, not recommended for now. Next, yeah, no, pretty much everything default. This I don't recommend to click on the experimental. So if you want to try it later on, you can. Something else first.
So
That's weird.
download. If anyone else comes with Git, we might be able to hold like a mini Linux workshop because Linux is good to know. So here, Alyssa, try downloading Brew. Or did it say that you needed to download something else first before you installed Brew? It's downloading command line. Okay.
We can do it later on as well. Just uncheck the node releases. It's not really that important, and we can go ahead and launch our Git bash. So let me skip out of this. Move this to the side for now. And let's open. If you guys have, do you guys have VS Code? No, that's pretty much where we're gonna use for this demonstration as well.
You don't need to have VS Code. You can use Atom. You can use an IDE if you want to. It's always good practice to just use the text editor. Vim.
Thank you.
Oh man, I have Atom, but I
Instead
don't
of
know how to
looking
use
at
it.
that, we can look at this just for now.
Vim. Okay.